Hi, in this lecture, we will learn what is meant by modulation and what are the different types of modulation. So, coming to the definition, modulation is defined as the process in which the characteristic parameter of a carrier signal is varied in accordance with the message signal. So, first, we need to consider one carrier signal, and the carrier signal is mathematically expressed as AC cos of 2 pi f c t plus phi. So first we have to identify what are the characteristic parameters. This carrier signal is having three different characteristic parameters: amplitude, frequency, and phase. If the amplitude of the carrier is varied in accordance with the message signal, that means the amplitude of the carrier signal is varied in proportional to the message signal m of t, then it is called amplitude modulation. Now, if the frequency of the carrier signal is varied in proportional to the message signal, then it is called frequency modulation. Similarly, if the phase of the carrier signal is varied in accordance with the message signal, that is called phase modulation. And there are some different types of all these modulation techniques. If the carrier is present in this AM, that is called amplitude modulation with carrier. Okay, and there are some disadvantages in this technique. That's why the carrier is suppressed and we will transmit only the two sidebands. Then that modulation is called double sideband suppressed carrier. The third type of modulation is single sideband, and the last one is vestigial sideband modulation. Similarly, let us see the different types of frequency modulation. There are two different types of frequency modulation. One is narrow band frequency modulation, and the other one is wide band frequency modulation. And these different types of modulations can be classified based on the modulation index. If the modulation index is less than 1, it can be classified as narrow band. If the modulation index is greater than 1, we can call it as wide band FM. The same scenario we can apply to phase modulation, narrow band phase modulation, and the wide band phase modulation. In this also, these two types of modulations can be classified based on whether the modulation index is less than 1 or greater than 1. Now, we will see in this modulation, before the signal is applied to modulator, the input signal that is applied to a modulator, there are different names we can call these signals. The carrier C of t can be called as a carrier signal, and the signal which is to be modulated, that is called message signal. The other name for this message signal is baseband signal, and there is one more name, that is information signal, or we can also call it as low frequency signal. We can also call this M of t as baseband signal. Okay, so directly this M of t cannot be transmitted directly through phase free space. That's why we need to take help from this carrier. Okay, directly we cannot transmit the signal. That's why we are taking help from this carrier. That's why you can call it as a carrier signal. This signal carries the information. The C of t will carries the information present in the message signal through free space. Okay, that's why it is called a carrier signal. So after modulation, the signal is generally denoted with S of t. It is called as modulated signal. And there is one more name for the M of t, and it is called modulating signal, which is to be modulated. The message signal which is to be modulated, it is called modulating signal. Using the help of this carrier, this signal is transmitted through free space. Then at the output, it is called modulated signal. And there are some names for this modulated signal. It is called band pass signal and high frequency signal. Okay, simply we can say modulation is the process of converting baseband signal to band pass signal. We can also call it as modulation is the process of converting low frequency signal to high frequency signal. Okay, there are several definitions for this modulation. Okay, now in the next lecture we will see what are the different types of modulations, and we will study about amplitude modulation technique. I hope you will understand this lecture. Thank you.